All right, folks, we are back. Hope you enjoyed the Marvin Gaye with the legendary, incomparable James Jamerson on bass. Man, it's rare that you can call like a musician the Michael Jordan, the GOAT at whatever it is they do. James Jamerson's the one guy in popular music where virtually everybody agrees, like, yeah, he's the GOAT. He's the best, greatest who ever did it. It is 7:32 in the PM on February the 2nd, 2024. We are here on My Country with Scott Cannon on Issues and Answers Friday. We got a caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hey, caller.
Oh, I wanted to say, do you think the plan is to make the migrant citizens if they agree to join the service?
I just talked about that last week.
Oh, okay.
You can actually go to my YouTube page, Scott Cannon WLTH, or you could go through the archives here at WLTH Radio. But we just talked about that last week. Absolutely, you have U.S. senators like Dick Durbin who admitted exactly that. You know, I played the clip of Illinois Senator Dick Durbin saying exactly that. Here we are right here.
From being an immigrant to this country. And yet there's been resistance throughout our history, unless we needed cheap labor to build the Transcontinental Railroad when we invited Chinese workers to come in. We treated them, unfortunately, in an inhumane fashion and didn't give them largely eligibility to become citizens. But we needed the labor, we needed the workers. It's happened many times before. What troubles me about the debate now about the southern border is it is one half of the immigration equation. Yes, we need order at the border. Yes, we need to have changes in the laws that reflect the reality of the overwhelming numbers from all over the world who are coming to our shores and our border. But there is also an incredible demand for legal immigration into this country even now. The presiding officer, my colleague from the state of Illinois, has legislation which addresses one aspect of that. Her bill, and I hope I describe it accurately, says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, you can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States. Do we need that? Do you know what the recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force? They can't reach their quotas each month. They can't find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country.
Yep, so there you have it. Thank you for calling, but yeah, we just did that segment.
Okay, and also earlier today, our congressman was on, and he mentioned as far as drugs, a lot of the drugs are coming in from the port of entry, and he was saying Portage is one of the port of entries. Have a good day.
All right, thanks a lot. Yeah, definitely not surprised. We all know mass immigration is, not just in this country, in every country, about exploiting cheap labor and bringing down wages of the native population. But yes, folks, it's not all that's going on here. Who is ready for the very first trillionaire? You guys ready for a trillionaire? I mean, we've got a lot of billionaires here, but within a few years, the world is going to have its first trillionaire. Thank you to our friends over at the Associated Press for talking for this story. The world could have its first trillionaire within a decade. Anti-poverty organization Oxfam International said on Monday in its annual assessment of global inequalities, timed to the gathering of political and business elites at the Swiss ski resort of Davos. That's where all the rich people get together and hobnob and talk about how they're going to control the rest of our lives. Oxfam, which for years has been trying to highlight the growing disparities between the super rich and the bulk of the global populations during the World Economic Forum's annual meeting, reckons that the gap has been supercharged since the coronavirus pandemic. Now remember, regular working class people were not allowed to keep their businesses open, but the super rich businesses were able to stay open. And that's why they made so much money while everybody else went out of business. And so the pandemic ended up being one of the biggest wealth transfers in the history of the world. I talked about it here. Jeff Bezos made so much money during the pandemic, so much money, that he could have paid every single Amazon employee in this country, which amounts to about 1 million people. He could have given 1 million people $100,000 apiece, just as a bonus for working for Amazon. And he would still be just as rich as he was before the pandemic started. He wouldn't have even noticed. Giving $100,000 to 1 million different people would have not been a big deal for him. That's how rich Jeff Bezos is. The group said that the fortunes of the 5 richest men on the planet, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Bernard Arnault, and his family of luxury company Louis Vuitton, what is MH? Louis Vuitton, I forgot what. LVMH, but I know the LV stands for Louis Vuitton. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, Oracle founder Larry Ellison, and investment guru Warren Buffett have spiked by 114% in real terms since 2020. Since 2020, when the world was reeling from the pandemic, their fortunes have spiked by 114% since 2020. Good Lord, that's a lot of money, as Chris Rock would say. Oxfam's interim executive director said the report showed that the world is entering a decade of division. We have the top 5 billionaires. They have doubled their wealth. On the other hand, 5 billion people have gotten poor. Amitabha, I don't know how to pronounce this, but this woman said in an interview in Davos, Switzerland, where the forum's annual meeting takes place this week. John D. Rockefeller, of Standard Oil fame, is widely considered to be the world's first billionaire in 1916. Currently, Elon Musk is the richest man on the planet with a personal fortune of just under $250 billion. Good Lord. Now just remember, I just told you that Jeff Bezos, who runs Amazon, could have given all of his Amazon employees $100,000 and been just as rich as he was before the pandemic started. Elon Musk is even richer than him. Now, by contrast, the organization has said that nearly 5 billion people have been made poor since the pandemic, with many of the world's developing nations unable to provide the financial support that richer nations could during lockdowns. In addition, Oxfam said Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which sent energy and food costs soaring, disproportionately hit the poorest nations. Now, we've talked about many times on this show why Russia invaded Ukraine and how essentially the United States and NATO purposely cornered Vladimir Putin into invading Ukraine. The whole purpose of the Ukrainian conflict was to cut Russia out of the global oil supply game. Russia supplied virtually all of Europe with cheap gas and oil. The United States did not like that. And so them and NATO kept encroaching on Russia's boundaries, on Russia's borders, even after the United States said it would not. And after plenty of America's own ambassadors like George Kennan and others warned against doing this, NATO continued to move eastward, expand eastward, placing Russia in danger. If you want a more familiar comparison, it would be like if Russia and China were a part of a dangerous military alliance and they were trying to arm the Mexican drug cartels in Mexico to put weapons on the Mexican-American border, and then trying to get Canada to be a part of the alliance and put weapons in Toronto and, Saskatchewan on the American border as well. Now, we know what happened when the Soviet Union in the 60s tried to put weapons in Cuba, which is 90 miles away and a completely sovereign country. The world almost ended because the United States had a conniption fit about it and would not allow that to happen. And so you know that the United States would not allow Canada and Mexico to be brought into a hostile military alliance. That threatens the safety and sovereignty of the United States. So they knew what they were doing when they were expanding NATO eastward, cornering Vladimir Putin. He told George W. Bush in 2007, 17 years ago now, hey, if you guys don't stop moving eastward, I'm going to have to take Ukraine and Georgia. He legitimately told George W. Bush that. He said, I can't afford to be surrounded by you guys. You guys are a hostile military alliance. And before that, Putin tried to make friends with the United States and NATO, asking Bill Clinton in the 90s or in 2000, right when Clinton was leaving, if Russia could join NATO. Now, what was Bill Clinton's answer to that? We'll see. We'll see. At this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that NATO itself exists solely to encroach on Russia's territory. That's pretty much it at this point. That's why it exists. So, energy and food prices here and abroad have gone soaring after our government pushed Russia into a conflict that would allow us to once again give more money to the military-industrial complex. That's basically what happened. Now, Oxfam has said that measures that should be considered in inequality-busting agenda include the permanent taxation of the wealthiest in every country, and more effective taxation of the big corporations, and a renewed drive against tax avoidance. And again, we have to remind you that during the 1950s and 1960s, which even conservatives call the greatest period in American history and most prosperous time in American history, the rich paid 92%. The top marginal tax rate was 92%. Never went below 70%, I believe, until Reagan got in office. Reagan lowered it to 28%. And the wealth divide between rich and poor has been getting bigger and bigger ever since. Just another one of the more cancerous legacies of Ronald Wilson Reagan. To calculate the top 5 richest billionaires, Oxfam used figures such as the Forbes 2023 list, where their total wealth then was $869 billion, up from $340 billion in March of 2020, a nominal increase of 155%. For the bottom 60% of the global population, Oxfam used figures like the UBS Global Wealth Report in 2023 and from Credit Suisse, the Global Wealth Data Book from 2019. Both used the same methodology. So this is something we talk about very often here on this show, about how the rich are getting richer while the poor are getting poorer. Both parties in this country, the Democrats and the Republicans, work for these people. Okay, Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, one of the biggest newspapers in America. They personally saw Bernie Sanders as their biggest threat in the year 2016 when he was running against Hillary Clinton, because Jeff Bezos is a personal friend of Hillary Clinton. And because of that, they wrote, I believe it was 16 negative stories about Bernie Sanders in 48 hours or something insane. They actually ended up having to apologize for that. We know Donald Trump was friends with people like Jeffrey Epstein and others, and the Clintons. Let's just be for real. The Clintons and the Trumps are good friends as well. The global oligarchic elites are connected and interconnected in virtually every way that you can imagine. Continuing to allow ourselves to get caught up in the partisan hackery politics of these two parties is not going to solve this problem. And I always have to tell people that's why I vote third party personally. I am a third party voter because, again, the Democrats and Republicans are not going to do anything about this. We're all getting poor because of their actions. Their friends are getting richer because of their actions. And so it's important to not let the corporate media snowball you about these entities, these institutions, and the people we have running these institutions. All right, folks, it's 7:50. Oh my God, this show went by quick. This is my last break. When I come back, I will be mopping up before Dr. Williams comes in with the 2x4 and kicks me out personally. All right, folks, we'll be right back after these.